What is going on, everybody? This is Mike from the last Corvette, and this here is officially part one of my off-season C6 build. And we are starting with the fuel pump in my garage. Nothing special. I got my little space heater running. I do have a nice large torpedo style heater when it gets really cold, but today this is just fine. So let me show you my setup. Over the weekend I washed the car. I had that posted onto Instagram. Basically got the front end up on car ramps. I don't have the fancy performance extended car ramps. These are just regular car ramps from AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever. But I do use 2x4s, and I'll lay them right in front of the angle, the approach angle. Basically what happens is you drive up onto the 2x4s first, and then it gives you enough clearance to just scoot right up and not damage anything or scrape or, you know, do any of that kind of business. The rear of the vehicle, you can use your regular car ramps, and you don't need any 2x4s. There's plenty of clearance, basically the attack angle to clear the bumper, and it's been done. So that is that. So the first thing I did today is got off work, basically did some things around the house, and I checked up the vehicle. Obviously before I did that, I broke all of the lug nuts loose. I do have my puck. I got 4 of them, 1 for each corner. It's the first thing that I bought. Removed the wheel, removed the inner wheel liner. Here's a little baggie here. Always label your hardware, especially if you're going to remove a lot of shit. You can also put some DNA on it. I am bleeding a little bit, but that's normal. So this is all of the hardware that holds on your inner wheel liner. I do have some extra pieces, some push pins for these outer flares that I installed. They do work, and this kit came with the fronts and the rears, and long story short, it protects your rear bumper and the quarter panel from getting a lot of the rock chips. But not my first rodeo with the inner wheel liner, because when I first got this vehicle, I had to remove the driver's side quarter panel, the rear bumper. At the same time, I ran all my wiring for the backup camera, and all that stuff made it a lot easier. But here's the tank, and we're getting close. So as far as removing the inner wheel liner, it's basically push pins and 11 screws. You got 1 here under the vehicle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These 2 here are Torx. This one here is basically just a tapped hole in the frame. That is for your brake duct that cools your brakes. And the other piece stays basically attached with a push pin to the wheel, or to the inner wheel liner. So let's take a look. The inner wheel liner is right here, and I'll take some pictures and do a better video during the day. Here's the muffler itself. It's that Corsa that I got. One of the things that I do is, instead of trying to push these hangers off, you're definitely going to break them, and it's just a pain in the ass. You got 2 hangers, and they connect right to your bumper support. And just remove the bolts, and it makes it that much easier to just drop the whole muffler. And these mufflers are freaking heavy, so if you want to drop some weight and go fast, I don't know, just get rid of them, straight pipe them. I'm just kidding. But to remove the muffler, what you want to do is you want to disconnect both sides of this axle pipe. This is all part of the kit. So if you get these axle back kits, you'll get the mufflers, and you get these pipes that go over the axle itself, and then connect to your main pipes, or the cross pipe as they call it. But you got a clamp right there, right on the muffler itself. And then you got 1 under the vehicle, which I'll show you here in a second. And as far as the fuel portion of it goes, so this is the tab. This sits like this. This is your main connector for the fuel pump module that lives inside the tank. This is your gray safety tab, very common on GMs. They're either gray or red. Basically prevents somebody from either pulling the connector apart. So you got to push this out first, and then you can easily just push on this tab here and it'll come apart. I also got the Evap line. There's two of them. There's one here right at the fill, and there's one behind the tank. Basically one of the last things you do when you remove them, but you actually pull this little collar back and the whole thing will slide right off. I also got this hose clamp loose. When I drop the tank, I'll be able to wiggle this fill hose off the actual filler neck, and that'll be pretty much a done deal then. But for now, I still need to do the following. Let me get under the car and show you. So this is your second hose clamp, as you can see. It goes all the way through your cross pipe there. So you remove it here, or basically you undo the clamp here, undo it at the muffler, and then you just undo the two bolts that hang the muffler in place, and you're good to go. The other thing I'm gonna have to do tomorrow is disconnect this high pressure fuel pump. I do have a kit to do that. You disconnect it right at the tank right here. And from there, the fun begins. Now, I already got the actual locking or the safety tab, which is black, off. It's already unlocked. I haven't actually twisted off the crossover pipe yet, because I'm going to do that tomorrow. But as you can see, let me get under the vehicle here for you guys. You got plenty of room. Here is the crossover. That's the tank right there. The black tab is already, let me see if I can zoom in. There you go. So the black tab is already off. As you guys can see, it's sideways, and the only thing you got to do now is just basically twist the connection off in between the cross pipe and the fuel tank. And from there, you know, the inner fuel lines that run within the cross pipe, or the cross tube as they call it, you know, sometimes they stick, but we'll deal with that when we get to that point. But you have plenty of room. A lot of people say that it's impossible to do this yourself without removing the whole basically drivetrain, but look at this. You got a freaking shit ton of room. This is an automatic transmission. A manual transmission is even skinnier. So, but you do have to remove the muffler, and the muffler and the pipe. Without that, you don't have any room, because it's going to look something like this. The pipe is going to be in the way. So tomorrow is disconnecting the fuel pump, or I should say disconnecting the fuel line that feeds the fuel pump, twisting off the crossover tube, or crossover pipe, whichever way you want to call it. And from there, really, all we got to do is just drop this pan here. That's what actually holds, let me kind of zoom out here. Hold on. That's what really holds the fuel tank in place on both sides. And we'll see. We'll try to wiggle it off, and once we drop it, we'll get the fuel tank out, inspected. I kind of already know that there is a fuel leak, and you see that right there, and it's more likely coming from the top high pressure elbow. But the way I have it set up too, guys, one thing that I believe I mentioned, well, for one, I have my safety is a must. But a lot of the videos that you see online, they're not wrong by any means. It's just, to me, it's a little bit unsafe. They'll use the car ramps, but then they'll jack up the whole vehicle, okay, right in the center. And yes, it gives you more room to play with, which is great, but you also have to remember, if anything happens, that vehicle will roll right off the car ramps. So as you can see, my passenger tire is still on the ground with the wheel block. Obviously I got a big old chunk of wood there supporting the cross member there, and it's pretty safe. It's not going to go anywhere. And if I have to jack the vehicle up, I will, just to get the tank out, to slide the tank out. Otherwise, this is how it's going to stay, and it's safe, because I have my e-brake on, I have my wheel chucked, right there. And you know, there's always a right and a wrong way to do it, and there's a million ways of basically skinning a cat, as they say. But definitely have some contact. When you're working on a hoist, it doesn't matter, but if you jack up this whole thing, like I said, the last thing you want to do is, or have happen, is this whole vehicle rolling off the car ramps and, God forbid, crushing somebody, whoever is under there. So anyway, tomorrow's plan is pretty simple. Just keep on trucking with this fuel pump. We'll drop it, we'll take it apart, we'll run up to the GM dealer, Either order the pump, maybe they have it in stock or whatever. We'll figure it out. But it's going to be a Z06 drop-in, and I'll pick this up tomorrow or the day after. Talk to you guys later.